Welcome to the Voice of MPE, the official podcast of Merchant Payments Ecosystem, Europe's largest merchant payments conference. This podcast brings you interviews with payment industry leaders and professionals from the entire payment world. For more information, head over to www.merchantpaymentsecosystem.com. In this episode, we will discuss how to plan your public relations strategy, improve your value in the eyes of investors, and increase the overall reputation of your business. We will also delve into the topic of revenue growth and customer acquisition with industry experts Angela Yore from SkyParler and Lynda Strutton from Tribe Payments.
My name's Angela Yore. I'm co-founder and managing director of SkyParler. We're a fintech specialist PR firm.
I'm Lynda Strutton. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Tribe Payments, who are a payment technology business.
So our panel is getting noticed by investors. We want to talk about, we think that, you just put the announcement out when you get your investment. But if you're able to, in advance, if you're able to plan your PR, it actually can be a great help and lever to get you higher value, to give away less of your shares, and also to build the value of the people within the business. So we're going to talk about that today. And Lynda is going through that journey right now at the minute. I'd like to start, Lynda, by asking you, can you tell us about how Tribe has grown since you joined the company? Because that's relevant to why you've engaged with PR.
Yeah, sure. So Tribe is now a 5-year-old business. When I joined Tribe, it was a 3-year-old business. So I've been there a couple of years and going through some quite significant times of change, which is pretty exciting. I wouldn't say Tribe was a startup particularly when I joined, but it certainly had the startup mentality still. It was probably about 120, just over 100 people when I joined the organization, but very much in that startup mindset still, which takes a little bit of time to get out of. I think I've described it to several people as the early teenage years, when they're not really sure what changes are coming up upon them, but something's coming. And as they go through the years into their latter teenage years, it becomes a little bit more troublesome and we have to start working through some of those issues. And that's certainly over the last 2 years what Tribe have been doing. So I'd say that we are definitely in the scale up mode now. So we've gone through the last 2 years from startup to scale up, and Tribe have really grown in people internally. We've invested in quite a lot of resources to try and get us to the right place. And we have been looking at internally processes and making sure that we've got everything that we need. And we've been bringing on some really good customer brands and names as we go through that journey. So I think it's safe to say we've seen both in revenue and customer numbers some really good growth in the last couple of years. And we're definitely on the path to scale up. What about SkyParler? How have they grown since you founded it?
So SkyParler started as a lifestyle business, and it was formed in 2009. My business partner and I worked together in the payments industry and identified a gap for an agency that really didn't understand, that we wanted to provide a proposition where, we understand the market, we're experts, because often PR companies are good at PR, but they're not actually good at payments and fintech. And I think the marriage of the two was a perfect storm for a good proposition, and it served us really, really well. But what we from there, we've grown the business. We now have a team in the US as well as in the UK, we've realised that you have to treat businesses differently at different stages of their evolution. So we have a division which is for startups, which is called SkyParler Started, and that's for businesses up to Series A, seed to Series A. They need PR to get noticed by investors, but they don't have the budgets or actually the infrastructure themselves to really run a proper PR campaign with an agency. So we're very hands-on with those kinds of companies, and they're a feeder into our second division, which is called SkyParler Scale. And SkyParler Scale is all around businesses that are scaling up and scaling out. And generally they're sort of Series A and above. And they're where often we're profiling leaders, because like when you are looking for investment, investors want a great value proposition, but it's got to be run by a great leadership team as well. So much of what we do is actually, we guide and coach and advise leaders to also who are great at running businesses, but also to be the face of the company as well. And then we have a business, a division called Sky Parlour Consult, which is where we sort of help with sort of mobile CMO type services as well. So we've really evolved, and that's because we've listened to the market and we've listened to our client, and they've given us the feedback. They've told us what they wanted, but also at the same time we've decoded what they want, and we think we have a really wonderful...
we don't always know what we want.
Well, and from that we've been able to put together really good propositions that are attractive to the marketplace. So what are the key things to keep in mind in terms of when you're marketing a company? I know it's been top of your mind. It's kept you awake at night a little while back. Not so much now. You've got it all, you've got some great insight.
I think this has definitely been our journey for the past sort of 6 to 12 months, thinking about, okay, so we are definitely going through the scale up mode at the moment. We are looking at preparing ourselves for investment. So I think for us, the main things to keep in mind, so that we've got almost a checklist internally of things that we want to mind. First of all, do we have the right leadership team? Do we have the right people in our business? Because actually where you started, those people were really good at getting the business started, but are they the right people to take us to the next level? And in some cases, the answer is actually no. And we've had to adjust our leadership team. And that has changed probably 80% since I joined the business to now. We've made quite significant changes in the leadership team, brought some people into the organization who will help push into the right direction. And that's both in the leadership level and perhaps one downs too, because you need to make sure that underneath those leaders, you've got stable foundations that of people that can actually help bring up those teams. So that's been one core thing that we've been focusing on. Control of the business is another. So as a startup, most of the businesses will have a founder or someone that's in control and makes the decisions. At that point in time, that's probably the right thing. As you grow, those decisions need to be discussed and made perhaps in more of a committee form, and we have got much better at one person not making the decision, but a group of people discussing that decision and what's best for the business, non-emotionally, to move it forward. And that's been a really big focus, management control, and making sure that we've got the right change management processes in place in the organization. We have been focusing then on, our sales and marketing strategy. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that we prove our businesses one that is sustainable, that we're hitting our targets, we understand where we're going. So of course, writing a sales and marketing strategy and having all of that in place. But for me, the core of it is then actually executing on that strategy, which I think a lot of people don't think about, the actual execution plan itself. So having the strategy is one thing, but what are those things every day that people are doing to move the business forward is another area that we've been very, very focused on. So making sure that everybody in the organization understands that the journey that we're on, purpose, the why, and making sure that they're all driven in the same direction. So every day we turn up to work and we're doing the same things that move us forward in that strategy. So those have been kind of our key focuses in getting ready. I think one of the things I'm quite interested to learn from you is, are those the right things in your opinion? Are there other things we should be thinking about? And have you seen any success stories that could help advise on?
I think you've got your got it together. You know the direction in which they travel, what you did was, or what you're doing, engaged early to support you in that, because often I find is, with many companies in this space, and we've worked with hundreds, so is they always see PR as an after, but actually, sometimes we're working with a client and then a week before they're about to announce a big funding round, they'll say, right, we're doing this funding round. And I'm thinking, well, if only they'd given us if they'd given us a runway of 3 months and brought us into that inner sanctum, the value we can drive from that for their brand to catapult their brand to the next level is immense. And also, they'll have big targets to me often when they've had investment, and promises to the investor. Use the PR as that foundation to get the brand everywhere. I'll talk about a case study without mentioning the name of the company, but a few years ago, working with a company that had 45 million in funded. It had been privately funded to start, and then they had around 5 million. So I guess that was a big jump in the first place. They've been going for about 6 years. They had some great some of the biggest fintechs, all triple off our tongue as their customers. But they were not profiled at all. And their CEO was a new CEO, a great CEO, but she didn't have a sort of any branding whatsoever. And I remember when we first started working with them, we went to Money 2020 and it was the first time she'd ever spoken. That's unusual, I guess, for somebody of that. But with that, in that situation, it's really important that build the profile of the business, because as you said about leadership, what people are buying is they're buying a really strong leadership team that's not going to sort of get their money and run, that's going to be around to see that journey. And they've got to know that they've got the capabilities, all of that operational resilience, all of the persistence, and also that face, that veneer. Underneath the business might be doing that, like the swan might be going like that, but on the top of the swan is what we help with, and that is providing that veneer and showcasing those people. So in that particular instance, we did a lot of media training, speaking as well on the platform. When you speak on a platform, often what you do is you think you can just stand up and talk about anything, but you actually have to be able to have great open body language. You need to be able to project your voice. You've got to have a core landing message, as you always talk about. And that's really crucial to be doing that. So at that particular company, we also won them 12 awards. So they had a mantelpiece full of awards. They worked very closely with their businesses, which already had a good brand, to associate with them to do joint awards submissions. And literally, they were everywhere. They were at every event. We were putting news out at least once a fortnight, something new. So the cadence of the news was good. It was about their innovation. It was about momentum. It was about the leadership, about partnerships that they'd forged. And as a result of that, that individual is highly profiled now within the sector, like everybody knows. And also the business highly profiled, so much so that along with the other things they would, and actually they weren't actually meeting their targets within the business, but they actually got 500 million from ad. So it's so, you want, PR is about building value. So we can all say what we do, but when we start to talk about why we do, and you're going to go on, I think, to talk a little bit about that, aren't you? That sort of, it's really important that you think about, the right timing, but also, build that value, and PR is that external value. So another question for you. So how do you know when it's the right time for investment, and how do you prepare your company for it?
I don't know exactly how you know it's the right time, but the methodology that I'm working with the team on, and we brought someone in to help us, guide us along the way as well. So we brought someone in who has had a lot of experience with going through investment, going through that transition period, making sure that we're ready for it, and the things that, you don't know what you don't know either. And when you work in a business that hasn't gone through that process before, then you need some support. So what we're working on right now is, so how do we know it's the right time? I think there are some some organizations that don't have a choice. They run out of money and they need funding, right? So that's obviously a right time for that organization. For us, it's slightly different. So with Tribe, we're taking our time slightly. We want to get things right to start with, and we want to make sure that we've set those foundations. We are in a position where we have consistent revenue versus, our forecasts match what's coming in. So consistently we're performing. Our sales growth is consistent, and we want to make sure that we are on point with that, and our cash flow is positive. I think for us as well, it's making sure that we've got those things I was talking about earlier, the leadership in place, the management processes in place, and making sure we're just ready to accept. Also, for us, it's not just about time for us, but making sure it's the right investor. So taking our time to make sure that we have the right person. I think I heard the person that we brought into the business, Andy, talk about this the other day as dating. We're going on some dates to see what it's like at the moment out there. And, you never know, you might meet the love of your life, or you might not for a while. And it's absolutely the case, I guess, where it's just as important for us to find the right investor as it is for the investment business to find the right organization to invest in. The reason we want investment as well is not because, we need it right now. It's because we want to scale, we want to grow. And I think for us, it's making sure we have the right people involved to help us do it. Have you seen people take investment, wrong investment?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people desperate for investment that didn't get it, still managed to dig deep and take the company back up again and then get investment later. And from there, they've catapulted on brilliantly. Some Silicon Valley one particularly that I'm thinking of. I've seen people choose the wrong investor. All the ingredients were there. They had the right job, the right car. They looked great. They did all that. But when it came to it, as soon as the investment happened, within about 6 months, the whole of the leadership team had gone. And that's something that you want an investor that's going to work with you.
Yeah, you need to work out how involved you want that person to be and how involved you don't want them to be in the right time.
And then I've seen, situations where it's worked brilliant. I think one of the points we were talking about earlier was it's all about, communication. I think in any relationship, it's an obvious thing to say, but, whilst you're going through that, make sure that you're important to them, that they want to advise and invest. They just don't want to make a quick buck. That when it comes to on the marketing side, that it's in their interests often as well to market the investment, especially if they're new to the market. They might want to let the investment go, like the likes of the titles like Barron's and the FT. This might be strategic to them. So if you're important to them, they're more likely to work with you, and get them working harder for you as well. Like sort of tap them up for joint speaker opportunities, tap them up to win Deal of the Year at the an awards ceremony. So it's like so it's not just about you working for them; it's about them working for you as well. So you've placed your trust in them as much as they've placed. So I think, as well, when you get to this scaling stage, which you've been doing great rates, it's it's about getting the team in that you want to have as part of your business, and you're there with that. But then it's about keeping them on that journey, making sure that the rock stars are constantly challenged, and the high performance people are. They have milestones to meet, career progression. But you have, you can't be as personal, and the culture's everything. Culture eats breakfast, and also on top of that, these people are going to help with this, the next evolution of the journey once you've got the investment. So how do you create a high performing culture? I know you've done a lot on this in this area, and you thought hard and deep about.
Yeah, I think this is a part for me that's really interesting to see the evolution of. The culture is something that is very close to my heart. I think, I want people to want to work for Tribe. I want them to be excited about the journey that we're on. But there is no doubt that when you scale, your culture changes, right? You've gone from almost like this little family that started up this organization to much larger family, or tribe, as we like to call it. Where we really have to be honest and open with our colleagues. So we found that actually making sure that they're on the journey with us really helps. So we have things like monthly, we call them Tribe Talks, but they're calls where everyone can join. Sometimes they're in person if we're in a particular location. But we have this hour where we're just giving information and allowing people to ask questions and making sure that we're bringing them on that journey. We have some Slack channels where people can go in and share information and try and create that tribe community. We now have our quarterly leadership meetings in a different location each time. So we're present in the offices. We'll take some star performers or people that have done something above and beyond out for dinner with us, and just make sure that we do lots of little things all the time to help build that culture. There's no sort of magic wand that gives you a great culture. It's lots of little efforts on a daily basis that do it. And I think we're doing okay. I feel that the culture at Tribe is really good. We have an annual get together where we get everyone in, and we focus on, just having fun as well. And I think it's really important that everybody has fun as we go through this journey.
I think as well, just a point on that is what you've been very good at, is seeing your, your advisors and buyers and your part of the Tribe network as well. As part of that, and that's from a marketing perspective, that's another viral element.
Are you trying to get an invite to Tribe Fest next year?
Any part bar mitzvahs, birthdays?
I think it is about having fun and making sure that you bring everybody on the journey with you. I think culture is exactly what business needs. Investors don't just invest in our technology, they'll be investing in our people. And I think it's really important to make sure that they're the very best that they can be.
And it's, as I say, we're thrilled and excited about where you are and, what we're building.
I've got one final question for you because I know we're running out of time.
5 minutes.
So businesses, pre and post investment. So we're just going through this journey at the moment. You've done this many times with businesses. What would be your key things to think about both pre-investment and post-investment for us?
Yeah, so there's 3 stages. There's the pre, there's the during, and then there's the post. And you want them all to be maximum, because when you announce something in an investment round, it's a really big opportunity for a fanfare, and you can either launch it and it's a damn squid, or you can launch it and work with your PR company to use it as a platform to see you everywhere on TV, radio, business press, global press. But to do that takes a hell of a lot of media strategy. So, we have to be thinking about what if you're going to get on TV for your announcement or in the run up to your announcement, what news can we hook you onto? So one of companies that we worked with got a big investment in London. So we hooked it onto FinTech London and got them news because they were talking about that how the London scene was thriving. That was the hook. They're not just going to say about, it'd be great if they just talk about Tribe, but they have to have those hooks for it. And then also from there, they've moved on to say, and today we announce. So, but then for the travel press or the retail press, there's other hooks. So we'll be thinking about all of those hooks. We also sometimes do, for a big investment round, we would advise doing 1P where you pay for it, but you tell the story exactly how you want to tell it. So you might want to put something in a Bloomberg, but it's your story, you're narrating it, because often other journalists pick up that story and then they write from it. So it's writing in your words. So that's a really important. And then in the run-up, it's all about, announce the opening of an envelope, make sure that the first thing an investor is going to do is they're going to go to your website and see what they want to know, that you're agile, dynamic, that you're working with all the right partners, the company you're keeping, that your people are being promoted, that you've got great DEI strategies in place, that the innovation is taking the industry somewhere that it's not been before. So that cadence of regular communication, the investors will read them all and they'll say, oh my gosh, I really like that element or this element, and he looks like he's got a great speaker roster there, and he's talking about subjects that we want to get into. And then so you've got all that build up, and then when you announce the investment, also think about the internal announcement. You can even invite your sort of VIPs in the morning to come to a briefing session on, and then it goes out in the news, and it has you have to be ready for every element. I could talk forever on this, so I'll keep it short, but the ideal scenario at that point is to get quotes from some of your, not just your investors, but perhaps some of your big sponsors. Maybe it's a scheme or a big customer that the news goes everywhere for the right messages, and because then we have a platform for the scaling growth that you're going. And then maybe switching from, right, we've got the investment, now we're switching PR that helps generate leads. And it's an even bigger focus on client pain points and how you solve them with case studies like that, but also, keeping the drumbeat going. So your brand awareness is out there to attract, to meet your target.
So it never stops.
Absolutely never stops. My day is never done.
So I think, so what I'm hearing from you as well throughout this pitch is key things from a PR perspective is engage early, make sure you don't leave it till 3 days before, and actually have that form part of your marketing execution plan as you go through the process.
Yeah. And often the final point is that, not always do you have, are we working with people that been through this, and even sometimes some of the leadership, so part of what, reports that we're seen as part of that
like the collaboration,
advisors. Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, Lynda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And this will hopefully be the first of many conversations I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the official MPE podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the show and check other video interviews with other industry leaders on our YouTube channel. For more content, follow Merchant Payments Ecosystem on LinkedIn and Twitter. Don't miss out on our Positivity magazine, and remember to subscribe to the MPE newsletter at www.merchantpaymentsecosystem.com.